The night sky over Earth was calm and dark. Stars twinkled quietly, but far above, something fast and fiery broke the silence. A small escape pod was falling, burning through the clouds like a meteor. It wasn't just a machine, it held two alien girls inside, both young, frightened, and alone. Inside the pod, Zira gripped the metal walls with trembling hands. Her sharp purple eyes stared at the display screen. Earth was near. Her jaw was tight with anger. Beside her, Mira sat curled up, arms around her knees. Her golden skin glowed faintly in the pod's red warning lights. Tears ran silently down her cheeks. "We shouldn't be here," Mira whispered. "We didn't deserve this." Zira didn't answer. Her voice was locked behind her rage. Their own people had thrown them away. On their home planet, rules were strict, especially for females. Zira had refused a forced marriage. Mira had defended her. That was all it took. Now they were being punished, banished, exiled to a primitive world called Earth, a place with no friends, no family, no future. Suddenly, the pod shook violently. "Hold on!" Zira shouted. The pod crashed into a forest with a loud explosion. Trees snapped, dirt flew. The metal shell slid through the ground before slamming into a hillside. Then, silence. Smoke rose from the wreck. The escape pod door hissed open. Zira coughed and helped Mira out. Their legs were weak. Their clothes, once soft and clean, were now torn and muddy. Cold air bit their skin. "Where are we?" Mira asked, her voice shaking. "Earth," Zira replied flatly. "Our prison." The forest was dark and strange. The sky above was nothing like home. No twin moons, no glowing rivers. Just stars and blackness. Owls hooted. "Leaves are USTLED." Mira clung to Zira's arm. "What do we do now?" "We survive," Zira said. She picked up a piece of sharp metal from the crash. "We fight if we must." But deep inside, Zira felt fear. She had never been off-world before. And now they were alone. They walked for hours, barefoot and shivering. The forest floor was cold. Small lights blinked in the distance houses. Machines? They didn't know. But they kept moving. Finally they reached a clearing. A road cut through the trees. On the other side, there was a small human house. Wooden, old, but warm-looking. Light came from a window. Smoke curled from the chimney. Zira pulled Mira down behind a bush. "We wait, but maybe they can help us?" Mira whispered hopefully. Zira narrowed her eyes. "Humans are dangerous. We can't trust them." Mira didn't answer. She was too tired. Her eyelids were heavy. Slowly she fell asleep, head resting on Zira's shoulder. Zira stayed awake, watching, listening. The cold crept into her bones, but she refused to sleep. She was the older one. She had to protect Mira. Hours passed, then snap. A sound behind them. Zira spun around, holding her sharp metal like a weapon. A beam of white light hit her face. A voice followed. "Hey, who's there?" A human male stepped closer, holding a flashlight. He wore a thick jacket and boots. He looked strong, but also confused. "What the f—" He stopped mid-sentence as his eyes met Zira's. For a second, no one moved. Then Mira woke up with a soft cry. "Zira!" Zira stood in front of her, arms wide. "Stay back!" She shouted at the human, but the man didn't raise a weapon. He didn't run. He looked surprised, concerned. "Are you hurt?" he asked slowly. Zira didn't understand all his words, but his tone was soft, not angry, not mocking. She lowered her weapon just a little. "Don't come closer." He nodded, staying where he was. "I won't. Look, it's cold out here. You're shaking. Let me help." Zira shook her head. "We don't need you," Mira spoke up. "Please." "Do you have food?" The man's eyes softened. "Yeah, I do." Zira looked at Mira, then at the man, then at Mira again. Her mind screamed no, but her heart whispered maybe. "We'll come," she said at last. "But if you lie, I'll hurt you." The man raised his hands. "Fair enough." He led them to his house, slowly, carefully. Zira kept the metal in her hand. Mira held her other hand tightly. They didn't know if this human was kind or just playing a trick, but they had no other choice. The door opened. Warm air hit their frozen faces. The smell of cooked food floated. "Out!" Mira gasped softly. Inside, they saw something they hadn't felt in a long time. Comfort. But comfort could be a trap too. As the door closed behind them, Zira whispered, "We need to watch him, no matter how kind he seems." Mira nodded, her eyes wide. They had landed on Earth in tears. But something was already changing. Jason stared at the two strange girls, standing in his kitchen. They didn't look like anyone from Earth. Their skin shimmered softly, one in gold, the other in pale violet. Their eyes were too bright, too sharp. They looked scared, thin, and tired. One held a sharp piece of metal like a knife. He had brought home aliens. He should be calling the authorities. Instead, he boiled water for tea. Zira stood close to the wall, eyes locked on him. Her body was tense like a cornered animal. The metal piece was still in her hand. Mira, the gentler one, sat on the floor by the heater, her fingers stretched out to feel the warmth. Jason placed a cup of tea on the table and slowly stepped back. "I don't know if you understand me, but you can rest here." Mira looked at Zira. "He's not hurting us," she said in their own language. Zira didn't lower the metal. They always seemed kind at first. Jason could see the fear in their eyes. He didn't know where they came from or why they were here. But one thing was clear. They were running from something terrible. He opened the fridge, pulled out bread, cheese, and fruit, and placed it on the table. Then he pointed. "Eat." Zira frowned. She didn't move, but Mira crawled forward. Her hands shook as she picked up a slice of bread and took a bite. Her face lit up with joy. "Zira, it's safe." Zira moved slowly, still watching Jason. Like a hawk. She finally grabbed an apple and took a bite. Jason smiled just a little. "Guess food's the same in every galaxy." Outside, wind blew softly against the windows. The forest was dark again. Jason went to the living room and sat on the couch, leaving the girls alone in the kitchen. He didn't want them to feel trapped. He needed to think. What was he doing? If anyone found out he was hiding aliens, the government would be all over his house. They'd take the girls, maybe do tests, lock them up, or worse. But when he looked at them, he couldn't see danger. Just two scared souls who had no one. An hour passed. Jason heard soft steps. Mira walked in holding her teacup with both hands. "You are Jason?" she asked slowly. Jason blinked. "You know my name?" She pointed at a letter on the fridge. His name was printed on it. "Jason," she repeated with a smile. He laughed. "Yeah, that's me." Mira sat down slowly. "I am Mira." Zira followed, standing behind her. "And I am Zira," she said sharply. Jason looked at her. "Zira, Mira, got it." Zira's eyes narrowed. "Why didn't you report us?" Jason leaned forward. "Because you looked cold, and hungry, and scared." Zira crossed her arms. "And what do you want from US in return?" Jason shook his head. "Nothing." She didn't believe him. Mira leaned her head on the couch cushion. "He's different, Zira. I feel it." But Zira turned to Jason again. "If you lie to us, I will hurt you." Jason smiled a little. "I believe you." Suddenly, knock, knock. Knock. Everyone froze. The knocking was sharp, loud, 3 times. Jason's face turned pale. He stood up and walked to the door. Before opening it, he looked back at them. "Hide, now." Zira pulled Mira behind the kitchen wall. Mira covered her mouth with both hands. Jason opened the door slightly. 2 men in black uniforms stood outside. One held a tablet. The other had A strange device blinking red. "Good evening," the taller one said. "Did you hear or see anything strange in the sky last night?" Jason kept his voice calm. "No, just some thunder maybe." The man with the device stepped forward. There was a crash nearby. Something from space. "We're checking all houses around this area," Jason shrugged. "Didn't see anything, just me here." The man looked over Jason's shoulder. "You live alone?" Jason hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, just me." There was a long silence. The blinking device slowed down and turned off. "All right," the man said. "Let us know if you notice anything." They turned and walked away. Jason shut the door and locked it. His hands were shaking. Mira peeked out first. "They were looking for us." Zira came out after. "And you lied for us." Jason sat down heavily. "I guess that makes me crazy." Zira looked at him differently now, still guarded, but softer. "Or maybe," Mira whispered, "you're just the first kind soul we've ever met." The sound of boots returned before the door had even cooled from closing. Jason froze mid-step. Outside, the officers were speaking low, serious voices. Then, silence. No footsteps leaving. Zyra's voice came from the kitchen in a whisper. "They didn't go far." Jason peeked through the curtain. One of the black uniformed men stood near the tree line, staring at his house. The second was kneeling in the grass, scanning. "They're watching us." Jason muttered. Mira's hands trembled. "They know we're here." Jason turned around. "No, they don't, but they suspect." Zira stepped forward. "We should run, now." "No," Jason said firmly. "If you run, they'll catch you." And that device one of them had, it was some kind of scanner. "It's not done yet." Jason's eyes scanned the room. He rushed to the storage closet. "Come on, both of you. What are you doing?" Zira asked. "I'm hiding you." He pulled open the wooden floor hatch inside the closet, an old storm cellar used during tornado season. It smelled like dust and darkness. Zyra looked inside. "It's small." "It's safe," Jason said. "And I'll bring you out as soon as they're gone." Mira stepped in first, crawling down the wooden steps. Zira followed after a long look into Jason's eyes. "You shouldn't be helping us," she whispered. "This could ruin your life." Jason nodded once. "Yeah, but I'm still helping." He shut the hatch and dropped a rug over it. Then he pulled cleaning tools in front of the closet to make it look untouched. 3 minutes later, knock knock. Again. Jason opened the door slowly. This time, the men didn't smile. "We need to scan your house," said the taller officer. "Just routine." Jason stepped back. "Sure, but you're not going to find aliens in my fridge." They didn't laugh. The one with the scanner walked in, sweeping the device across the walls, the floor, the air. Jason stayed calm, but sweat formed on his neck. "Live alone?" one of them asked again. Jason nodded. "Still do." The scanner beeped near the kitchen. Jason's heart stopped. Then it blinked green. "False alarm," the officer said. They stepped into the closet area. Jason stood in front of it, arms crossed. "Just junk in there, cleaning stuff." The officer opened it anyway. Jason smiled. "See? Mop, broom, old boots. Nothing scary." The man stared at Jason a second longer, then shut the door. Finally, they stepped out. "Sorry for the trouble," the taller one said. "But if anything strange happens, let us know." Jason gave a friendly wave. "Of course." As the car disappeared down the road, Jason didn't move. He waited. 5 minutes. 10:20. Only then did he open the hatch. Dust rose. Mira coughed as she crawled out. Zira followed, her hair covered in cobwebs. "You risked everything," Zira said softly. Jason didn't answer. He went to the sink, washed his face, and then finally turned to them. "You two need better hiding spots." Mira smiled nervously. "You're not sending us away?" Jason shook his head. You're safe here for now. Zira sat on the floor. Her legs trembled from stress and cold. Then she asked, not like a fighter but like a lost girl, "Why? Why do this for us?" Jason looked out the window. "Because I know what it's like to be unwanted." Silence. Mira sat beside Zira and held her hand. Zira didn't pull away this time. They were still hunted. Still alone. But in that quiet house, for the first time since they had been cast out, they were believed. Zira woke up gasping. Her body was warm, but her heart raced with cold fear. Sweat ran down her back. She sat up quickly, eyes wild, looking for chains that were no longer there. There were none. Just a blanket, a pillow, a quiet room. She wasn't in the prison cell anymore. She wasn't home, either. She was in his house, the humans. She turned her head. Jason was asleep on the couch, across the room. Mira was curled up near the fireplace, breathing softly. Peaceful. Zira's fists clenched. She hated that she had slept. She hated that she felt safe. She got up quietly and slipped outside. The air was cold, but the night sky was clear. Stars shimmered above her, but they weren't her stars. Everything felt wrong. This wasn't home, and maybe it never would be again. Footsteps crunched behind her. Jason stood there, holding out a coat. "You'll freeze like that." She didn't turn. "I've been through worse." "I believe you," Jason said quietly. She took the coat anyway. They stood in silence for a moment. Finally, Zira whispered, "Why are you kind?" Jason blinked. "Because you need kindness." "No one's ever said that to me," she replied. "Where I'm from, no one cares what a girl needs." She sat down on the porch step, her voice shaking slightly. "They only care if she obeys." Jason sat beside her, not too close. "You were punished for saying no?" Zira nodded. "I was supposed to be married. He was older, cruel. I said no. They didn't like that. I fought back. So they called me a problem, a threat. And Mira, she defended me. So they punished her too." Jason didn't speak. His jaw clenched, but not in anger at her. "At the injustice. I thought humans were monsters," Zira said. "But you're the only one who hasn't tried to touch us, use us, sell us." Jason looked at her. "Maybe we have monsters too. But some of us are just people trying to do the right thing." Zira turned to him. "And what do you want in return?" Jason shrugged. "Nothing." She stared at him like he'd just spoken a word she didn't understand. "Nothing?" She asked again. "I don't want to own you. I want you to heal." She laughed bitterly. "That's a word I don't believe in." Mira stepped out behind them, rubbing her eyes. "Zira?" Zira turned back and nodded. "I'm fine. Go back inside." But Mira came and sat between them. She looked up at Jason and asked, "Why do you live alone?" Jason smiled sadly. "People I loved, they're gone now. I guess I got used to the quiet." Zira looked down. She didn't expect to feel anything for this man, not even pity. But something in her chest moved. Jason stood up. "Come inside when you're ready. I'll make breakfast." As he walked away, Zira whispered, "Jason." He stopped at the door. "Thank you." Jason nodded once. "Anytime." Later that morning, the smell of eggs and bread filled the house. Mira sat at the table, eyes wide with joy as she watched Jason cook. Zira stood near the wall, still tense, but less like a fighter and more like someone trying to understand peace. Jason served them food without asking anything. No orders, no conditions. Just food and silence. The good kind. Zira sat down slowly. "Do all humans cook?" she asked. Jason smiled. "Some. I just don't like seeing people go hungry." Zira took a bite. Warm. Soft. Not poisoned. Not forced. She swallowed hard, not just the food but the fear. For the first time in her life, she said something she never thought she would. "This feels like home." Zira couldn't breathe. Not because she was in danger, but because she had smiled just a moment ago. Mira had made a silly joke about the toaster, something about the bread trap monster, and Jason laughed. Then Zira laughed too. Not forced, not fake. A real laugh, and it scared her more than any soldier ever had. She quickly stood up from the table and left the room. Jason turned. Zira, you okay? She didn't answer. She stepped outside and pressed her hands against the wooden wall, breathing hard. Why did she laugh? Why did she feel warm? She had trained herself to never trust, never feel. But now, her heart was doing strange things. Her stomach turned when Jason looked at her for too long. Her chest felt heavy when he smiled at Myra. Was she jealous? No. That couldn't be. She was a warrior. Not a weak girl chasing warmth. Inside, Mira watched her sister through the window. She turned to Jason. She's scared. Jason looked confused. Of what? Mira placed her hand on her chest. Of this. Jason tilted his head. Feelings? She nodded. On our planet, feelings are forbidden, especially for girls. Jason looked down. That explains a lot. Mira sat beside him. But I like how I feel here. I feel safe. I feel light, like I can be me. Jason smiled gently. That's all I want for both of you. She looked into his eyes. Is this love? Jason's smile faded a little. Love is many things, but yes, it starts when you feel safe. When you care more about someone else than yourself. Mira's face turned soft. Then maybe, I love you. Jason froze. She quickly stood up. I'm sorry, that was wrong to say. Jason stood too. No, it's not wrong, I'm just surprised. Outside, Zira turned her head, watching them through the trees. She saw Myra's smile. Jason's gentle eyes. Something twisted inside Zira's heart. She looked away. Why did it hurt? She punched a tree, silently cursing herself for caring. That night, dinner was quiet. Zira didn't speak. Jason didn't push. But Mira sat closer to Zira than usual, holding her hand under the table like when they were children. Later, as Jason washed the dishes, Zira came up behind him. I need to know something, she said. Jason turned. What is it? She stared at him, unreadable. If Myra loves you, will you leave her one day? Jason frowned. Never. If I say I care about someone, I mean it. Zira nodded slowly. And if I didn't hate you? Jason chuckled softly. I'd say that's a pretty good start. She shook her head. This is stupid. Jason looked at her. No, it's human. Zira walked away without another word, but her steps were slower now. Her fists weren't clenched. Her heart? Still confused, but maybe starting to understand. The night sky wasn't silent anymore. It hummed. Jason stepped outside, holding a cup of coffee in one hand and rubbing his eyes with the other. He looked up and his blood ran cold. A strange ripple cut across the stars. Silent, smooth. Wrong. He didn't need a telescope to know. Something from space had entered Earth's sky, inside the house. Zira felt it too. Her body tensed before her mind even processed it. A deep pain shot through her spine, an old trigger, implanted back on her planet. It only activated when a ship from home came near. Her eyes widened. She grabbed Mira's wrist. They're here. Mira froze. No. Jason rushed inside. I saw something in the sky. Zira turned to him, panic in her eyes. They're not just searching. They found us, Jason blinked. How? Zira closed her eyes. Our escape pod. It had a hidden signal. It must have reactivated. Jason cursed it under his breath. How much time? Zira looked toward the sky. Maybe 1 hour. Mira's voice broke. If they take us back, they'll separate us. They'll punish Zira. They might erase our memories. Or worse. Jason grabbed his bag and started packing supplies. You're not going back. Zira stopped him. Jason, you don't understand. These aren't human soldiers. These are trained trackers, hunters. Once they touch down, they will not stop. Jason looked her straight in the eyes. Then I won't stop either. Zira stared at him, stunned. No one had ever said that for her. Jason moved fast. He tossed bottles of water, warm clothes, and energy bars into a pack. We'll run. We'll go. Into the deep woods. I know this land better than anyone. Zira didn't move. Jason turned to her again. What? Zira spoke slowly. If we run, you become a criminal. Jason laughed without joy. I became that the day I hid you. Zira bit her lip. Her heart pounded not from fear, but from something else. Something she didn't know how to name. Mira walked to Jason and touched his arm. You'd risk everything for us? Jason nodded. You're not things, you're people. You deserve to be free. A loud boom echoed in the void. Sky. All three looked up. A glowing streak cut through the clouds and vanished behind the mountains. Zira whispered, that was them. Landing. Jason zipped the bag. Then we move now. He opened the back door and motioned for them to follow. Zira stepped outside but turned back, her eyes scanning the home one last time. The couch where she had slept, the kitchen where they had shared bread, the porch where she had told her story. She whispered, goodbye. And then they disappeared into the trees. Deep in the forest. Hours later, night had fully fallen. Jason guided them through paths only he knew. No lights, no noise. Only the sound of dry leaves underfoot and the distant howls of wind. But behind them, another sound began to grow. A hum. Mechanical, fast, cold. Zira suddenly grabbed Jason's arm. Stop. What is it? He whispered. She pointed. Scanner drones. I hear them. They travel in pairs. Jason squinted. I know a place, an old cave. If we reach it first, we can block the entrance. Mira was already tired. Her steps slowed. Jason turned and lifted her onto his back. Mira gasped. You don't have to carry me. Jason smiled. Yes, I do. Zira helped clear the path ahead, slicing vines and branches with the same metal shard she had once used to threaten Jason. Now she used it to protect him. Minutes later, they reached the cave. Jason pushed a rock in front of the entrance as Zira checked the shadows. Mira slid to the ground, breathing heavily. Inside the cave they waited, hearts pounding. The hum passed over them, then faded. Zira looked at Jason, eyes glowing softly in the dark. They'll come again, she whispered. They never stop. The first time, Jason nodded. Then we keep running. Zira hesitated, then leaned close and whispered something that shocked even her. Wherever you go, I'll follow. Zira didn't flinch when the alien commander stepped into the clearing. She didn't hide behind trees. She didn't run. She stood tall, her chin raised, her body between Jason and Mira. It was time to stop hiding. The enemy had landed, and she was done being afraid. A silver ship hovered above the forest like a silent moon. Lights beamed down. Soldiers spread out in black armor, weapons ready. The alien commander, tall, armored in gold, face cold and sharp, walked forward. Zira, he said in a voice that echoed like steel. You will come with us now. Zira didn't move. No, the commander raised a brow. You refuse? Mira stepped beside her sister. We are not yours. Jason walked forward too, placing a hand gently on Myra's shoulder. There. Under my care now, you don't own them. The soldiers raised their weapons. The air turned heavy. Zira didn't blink. We are not property. We are people. You punished us for thinking, for choosing, for feeling. The commander's face remained calm. You were chosen for correction. Earth was your exile, not your reward. Zira pointed at Jason. Then, why did Earth give us him? Jason stepped up. I gave them shelter, not because they're aliens, not because they're beautiful. but because they were alone, and they needed someone to stand between them and the world. The commander looked at Zira. You were a warrior once, strong, cold, useful. What are you now? Zira didn't hesitate. Stronger. She stepped forward, inches from the commander's face. I choose my own path. One choose my own life, and I choose to stay with him. The commander paused. And then, to everyone's surprise, he nodded. Very well. The soldiers lowered their weapons. Mira gasped. You're letting us go? The commander turned. You were meant to suffer in silence. Instead, you learned to speak with fire. Perhaps Earth has done its job. He looked at Jason one last time. She is your responsibility now. And just like that, the soldiers returned to the ship. The engines roared, the ground shook, and in moments, they were gone. Silence filled the clearing. Zira collapsed to her knees, not from weakness, but from relief. Mira knelt beside her, crying softly. Jason helped them both up. It's over, he whispered. Zira looked at him. No, it's just beginning. 1 week later, the house was quiet again, but this time, full of life. Mira was planting flowers near the porch. She wore human clothes now, laughing as butterflies chased her hands. Zira sat on the steps, watching the sun set. She held a mug of tea, something she never knew she liked. Jason joined her with a smile. You're not wearing armor, she smiled softly. Maybe I'm safe. He sat beside her. You were never weak, even when you cried. Zira turned to him. Jason, I don't know how to say it in your language. Say what? He asked. That this heart I tried to bury, it beats for you now. Jason didn't need a translator. He reached out, and this time, she didn't pull away. They sat together, quiet and warm. Not slaves, not exiles, not lost, just free and loved.